Recorded Books and RB Digital present Revenant Gun by Yoon Lee. Narrated by Emily Wu Zeller. Chapter 1. Jadao woke up in a luxuriously appointed suite. All ink painting scrolls and curious asymmetrical chairs and translucent tables. The last thing he remembered was being sprawled on a bed in a much smaller room wrestling his friend Ruo for a game controller. This had better not be a hotel, he thought, wondering if Ruo had persuaded him to do something regrettable again. He couldn't afford anything like this. Not trusting the situation, he ducked down behind the chair he'd found himself in, and listened. No sound. After a while he peered around, careful to stay silent. There was a closed door, and across from it an open entrance to another room. No windows or viewports, unless they were concealed. Ruo, he thought, if this is another one of your pranks. A hint of breeze passed through the suite, and he shivered. He thought to look down. They'd done something to his clothes. He was wearing a thin off-white tunic and undershorts. Maybe someone from Shuo's academy was hazing him? No one had shot at him yet, so he risked standing up. Paradoxically, that made him warier. He knew what to do about bullets and fire and smoke. That bothered Jadao the more he thought about it. The most immediate memory told him that he'd last been a first year in academy, but he was sure that even the Shuos didn't put first years into live fire exercises. How did he know this stuff anyway? Jadao searched the first room, then grew bolder and tried the rest of the suite. There were 6 rooms, not 7, which made him frown. Surely the Heptarchate still insisted on 7s for everything. Lots of objets d'art, too. No people to question. And no sign of Ruo. A dresser occupied one wall of the bedroom, as luxurious as the rest of the furniture. Only the top drawer contained anything. Unfortunately, the anything was a Kell uniform. At least, Jadao presumed it was a Kell uniform. Black with gold braid. The correct colors. He searched for pins or medals, turned the pockets inside out, anything to tell him more about the uniform's owner. No luck, although the double bands on the cuffs indicated that it belonged to a high officer. The style looked odd, too. The left panel of the coat wrapped around, and instead of buttons it had toggles, with hook and eye fasteners to keep the whole affair closed. Next to the uniform, tucked in a corner, rested a pair of silken black half-gloves. That suggested the uniform belonged to someone seconded to the Kell, rather than an actual Kell soldier. "All right," Jadao said, trying to ignore the sick feeling in his stomach. "This isn't funny anymore. You can come out now, Ruo." No response. Jadao considered the possibility that someone had forgotten their uniform by accident. He picked up the shirt and unfolded it again. Then the pants. They looked like they would fit him rather well. Wait a second. He narrowed his eyes at his arms, then his legs, then considered his torso. When had he put on all this muscle? Not that he was complaining exactly, but the last he'd checked he'd been rather slimmer. He was starting to think that Ruo didn't have anything to do with this after all. At least, he couldn't think of any reason Ruo would pass up an overnight muscle-enhancing treatment. In that case, what the fuck was going on? Even if the uniform would fit him, Jadao knew better than to put it on. Too bad he didn't have other clothes. But being shot for impersonating an officer didn't sound fun. The door opened. Ruo? Jadao thought. But no. A man came in. Pale and tall and
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.